house awakens. Have you ever wondered what it might feel like to rise before the sun in an Edwardian household, not as a guest wrapped in comfort, but as one of the invisible hands that make the house appear so effortless? Tonight, you will not be watching from the outside. You are part of the household itself, a servant among others. The house breathes around you, and you must wake when it stirs. So, before we begin, let us prepare. Dim the light if it feels too sharp. Adjust your pillow if it presses against your neck. Breathe slowly once in, once out, steady as footsteps across an empty corridor. This story will move at that same rhythm, slow, unhurried, almost predictable. You may drift into sleep before the chapter ends, and that is not a problem. The house will continue without you. It always does. The day begins in darkness. You wake not when you choose, but when the house decides. In the servants' quarters, the air is still, cool, and faintly damp. The smell is part coal dust, part wool blanket, and part something older, wood beams that have absorbed years of breath and smoke. Beside you, the faint rustle of straw mattresses shifting marks the waking of others. You feel the chill first on your hands. The blankets are rough, heavy, and faintly sour from long use. You place your feet on the stone floor, and it greets you with a cold touch, sharp enough to keep you from sinking back into sleep. Someone coughs quietly, not out of sickness but habit. Clara the clock watcher stirs at the same time. She always wakes a little too quickly, already adjusting her cap as though the house might punish her for sleeping an extra breath. She mutters, 4:30, though no one has asked her. Old Finch, the butler, still lies in bed sighing once before sitting up. He will rise slower than you, but he will also end slower, ending the night when all others are long asleep. There are dozens scattered across the house, though you will begin with the kitchen range. Step 1. Gather the coal stacked in bins that never seem quite full enough. The lumps are dusty and leave black smudges against your fingers, a mark that lingers no matter how much you rub. Step 2. Prepare the kindling. The wood is dry but brittle, and each piece snaps with a faint crackle, a sound that almost disturbs the quiet but not quite. Step 3. Strike the match. The flame flares bright, too bright against the dim of the room. You set it against the kindling, and smoke curls upward, carrying the faint scent of resin and dust. Step 4. Wait. The fire is not hurried. It catches in its own time, spreading slowly, as though stretching before it begins its day. Only once the coals glow steady can you move on. Historians note that households of this period required countless fires, parlors, drawing rooms, bedrooms, all of them needing warmth before their masters stirred. It was not luxury alone. It was expectation, tradition, and habit wrapped together in rich. The myth is that such houses awoke with grace, like music swelling gently at dawn. The reality is less poetic. It is a chorus of coughs clattering pails, boots scuffing stone, and fires that refuse to catch. Clara the clock watcher insists that, if one fire smokes too much, the entire household will complain of a draft. Maggie the mouse hater swears she hears scratching from behind the range. Old Finch sighs as though sighs alone can push the day forward. Your own small dilemma arrives with the first bell, not the grand dining room bell that will come later, but a simple kitchen handbell rung by the cook. It signals that tea water must be set. You glance at the fire, only half ready. Do you wait until it glows stronger, risking a slower pop, or do you place the kettle now and accept that the water may never quite reach the rolling boil the cook demands? Neither choice will matter much to history, but in this moment, it feels like the center of the world. The house above remains silent. Thick carpets muffle sound, curtains trap cold air, and the family still sleeps. Down here, every noise is amplified. A boot against stone echoes. A coal dropped into the scuttle might as well be a hammer against iron. Even your breath seems louder than it should. Step by step the routine continues. Boots are blacked, brass polished, linens checked for stains. Clara whispers the time every few minutes, though no one listens. Maggie peers at the walls, muttering about tales in the dark. Old Finch ties his cravat slowly, sighing, already weary though the day has only begun. Historians still debate whether the Edwardian household was truly efficient, or whether it survived mostly on appearances. Records from letters suggest that behind the grandeur, disorder often lurked, fires smoking, meals delayed, servants exhausted. The myth of perfection served as part of the illusion, one that both family and staff upheld, even when it frayed at the edge. You finish one fire and move to another, The matches are nearly gone, and you debate whether to save them. Strike too many and the cook will notice the expense. Save too few and you will spend twice as long coaxing stubborn coal into flame. A choice again, though not dramatic, just one of many tiny balances that carry the household forward. Upstairs the sun has not yet risen, but faint light leaks into the higher windows. The day is no longer waiting. It is here, though the masters still dream. Downstairs the house is awake. You are awake, and the rhythm has only just begun. Rules of the household. The house may be large, the rooms many, the windows tall, but beneath all that stone and plaster lies a simpler truth. A household like this one moves by rules. Without them there would be noise, confusion, and complaints carried down every corridor. With them there is rhythm, order, and the illusion that everything happens quietly, almost naturally. You are part of that rhythm now. It is not your rhythm, but the house. And so you begin the day not only with tasks but with codes. Before we go further, adjust yourself again. If your pillow has shifted, smooth it beneath your head. If your blanket has slipped, pull it gently back across your shoulder. Take a breath in steady and long, and let it fall out as quietly as a sigh in the hall. The chapter will stretch slowly, and you may drift with it. There are many rules, spoken and unspoken. They differ by house, by family, even by individual master. Yet they repeat enough across Edwardian England that servants shared a common understanding. Some were printed in little manuals, some were passed down by senior staff like old Finch, whose sighs often carried more weight than his word, and some were simply learned by error, the kind of mistake that earns a raised eyebrow from a mistress or a cough from a butler. Here they might be called the 7 golden rules of service. Be silent. A servant's voice is not absent, but it should be heard only when necessary. A reply, a yes sir, a very good madam, and little more. Be present. You must be in the right place at the right time, often before anyone calls. To be late is to be invisible in the wrong way. Stand well. Posture is itself a language. Upright, composed, hands. A slouch speaks louder than words. Eyes lowered. You look at the work, not at the master. To gaze too directly is to cross a line that is not spoken of, but always enforced. Never presume. A chair is not yours to rest upon. A fire is not yours to enjoy. Food is not yours to taste. Be invisible. Your work must be noticed, but your body should not. A silver tray gleams, yet the hand that carried it should vanish once it is placed. The house is first. Whatever you feel, whatever aches in your hand or back, the rhythm of the house continues, and you must match. These rules are not commandments carved in stone, yet they shape the air around you as much as the walls do. Step 2. Prepare the polish, thick and faintly acrid, smelling faintly like vinegar disguised as lemon. Step 3. Rub slowly, first in circles, then in lines, then in circles again. Step 4. Inspect in the dim light, shifting the tray until it catches a glow. The myth is that silver gleamed naturally, that grand tables arranged themselves. The reality is that you bend over the same spoon 3 times, checking the bowl, then the handle, then the edge. Soap that smells like ambition burns faintly at your fingertips. Clara the clock watcher hovers nearby. She notes the hour aloud. 6 o'clock, and 20. You do not answer, though you hear her. Maggie the mouse hater wipes plates, grumbling that mice are cleverer than masters. Old Finch sighs from the corner, his sigh deep enough to serve as both approval and dismay. The first problem comes small, as it often does. A button on your uniform jacket is loose. It dangles, threatening to fall. If it does, the mistress might notice. If you take time to repair it now, you will fall behind in polish. Do you pause, needle in hand, or do you press the button back with a thumb and continue? It is not an urgent choice, not a great one, but it is the sort of balance that shapes your day. Historians still debate whether these rules truly created efficiency, or whether they merely created the appearance of efficiency. Letters from mistresses speak often of well-trained staff, though diaries of servants tell of exhaustion, blisters, and moments stolen between bells. The illusion of perfection mattered as much as perfection itself. The polishing continues. You rub, pause, breathe, rub again. The tray shines faintly, and you set it aside. Another awaits. The day stretches, rule by rule, polish by polish. You wonder, for a moment, whether the rules are comfort or burden. They give order, predictability, a path through the hours, yet they also deny choice. You are there to follow, not to bend them. The rules are both blanket and chain. By the time the family stirs, the house already glimmers faintly. Silver glows in the weak morning light. Brass fittings catch a dull shine, and uniforms are mostly straight, mostly mended, mostly clean. The rules have done their work. The silver gleams, but the day is still only beginning. Below stairs, life in the servants' quarters. The family sleeps above. The house still looks elegant, silent and untroubled in its upper rooms. Yet down here, below stairs, another world begins. It is not a world of polished marble, but one of stone floors worn by boots. It is not soft carpets, but narrow corridors with walls that sweat in winter and feel close even in summer. You are in that world now. The servants' quarters. You may not always see sunlight here. Instead you see coal, iron pots, shelves of crockery, and doors that lead only to more corridors. The air is heavy with smells of smoke, damp and food that is both near and far. Onions, bread, a hint of fat, a trace of polish. Before we continue, adjust yourself once more. If your blanket has slipped, draw it back. If your breathing has grown uneven, steady it, slow and deep. Let the rhythm of this chapter lull you, step by step, word by word, into rest. The space itself. The myth is that servants' quarters were cozy, like little cottages beneath grand homes. The reality is more cramped. The ceilings are low. The windows, if there are any, look out to walls or light wells rather than gardens. Historians note that even in fine houses, the space for staff was considered secondary, sometimes afterthoughts in design. Records of house plans show kitchens tucked into basements, maids' rooms squeezed along back passages. Comfort belonged above, necessity belonged below. The floor is stone, uneven in places. It feels cold against your feet, especially at dawn. You hear every scuff, every step, even the quietest footfall echoes. The walls smell faintly of lime wash, overlaid with the strongest scent of whatever was last cooked. The ceiling beams hang low enough that old Finch ducks when he passes through, sighing as though the ceiling has lowered out of spite. Breakfast preparations. You begin the long task of breakfast, not your breakfast that will come later in simpler form, but the family's. Step 1. Prepare the fire in the kitchen range. Unlike the parlor fires, this one must be hot and steady, for it carries the burden of boiling, baking and roasting. Step 2. Set out the pans. Iron, heavy, blackened from years of use. You lift them with both hands, and even then your wrists ache. Step 3. Gather the ingredients. Bacon, eggs, loaves of bread. The bread is yesterday's, but toasted it will do. Butter, cold and firm, must be softened carefully near the fire. The sound is constant. A pan clangs, a knife scrapes against wood. Clara the clock watcher mutters the time again. 6:30. Maggie the mouse hater insists she saw something dart across the pantry floor. Old Finch sighs, arranging his cravat, though no one is watching him down here. Rules below stairs. Life below stairs follows rules just as strict as those above. They are not written, but everyone knows them. The butler sits at the head of the table. The cook commands the kitchen. Maids eat last, after footmen. No one speaks ill of the master aloud. Jokes are permitted, but not too loudly. Work comes first, even before meals. These rules hold the space together. Without them, quarrels would grow, and resentment would spill. With them, order survives, even when tempers fray. The servants' table. When the first clatter of work eases, the servants eat. It is not feast, but fuel. Bread, porridge, sometimes bacon, sometimes only dripping. The portions depend on the family's mood, the cook's favor, and the day of the week. You sit where you are told. Footmen nearer the butler, maids further away. Old Finch sits with the authority of years, sighing before he takes each bite, as though the bread itself has disappointed him. Clara eats quickly, her eyes flicking always to the clock. Maggie chews noisily, then pauses to complain again of mice, waving a crust like a weapon. The food is plain, but the warmth matters. The porridge smells faintly of oats and smoke. The bread is rough, the butter uneven, but together they keep you steady until the next bell. The dilemma here is small but present. A second slice of bread lies unclaimed. Do you take it quickly, risking a sharp look from Clara, or do you wait, risking that Maggie will seize it while boasting about mice? Hunger is simple, but choices are not. The soundscape, life below stairs, is not silence. It is layers of sound, each one familiar. The scrape of knives against chopping boards, the low hum of kettles beginning to boil, the sharp crack of coal tossed into fire, the squeak of boots against stone floors, the constant faint drip of a tap that never quite shuts. Even laughter has its place. Not too loud, not too free, but present. Jokes about master's habits, mimicry of the cook's stern face, whispers about letters delivered or gossip from the town. These fragments float in the heavy air, breaking the monotony, but never shattering it. Myths and realities. The myth is that servants formed a second family, bound together in loyalty and affection. The reality is more mixed. Some bonds grow close, shared meals, shared jokes, shared weariness. Others are sharp, rivalries, jealousies, unspoken competitions for favor. Diaries from the time suggest both warmth and pettiness, kindness and cruelty, often in the same room. Old Finch tells a story, sighing between sentences, about a master who once scolded him for polishing silver too well. Clara mutters about the importance of timekeeping, though no one listens. Maggie declares she will set a trap for the mice, though her traps catch nothing but crumbs. These voices repeat, day after day, forming a rhythm as predictable as the ticking of the clock. Work resumes, breakfast ends, and plates are cleared. You return to tasks, sheets to change, floors to scrub, pots to scour. The servants' hall empties, footsteps scattering to different duties. Your hands smell of soap, sharp and biting. Your back aches faintly from leaning over the table. Your eyes grow heavy in the dim light, but the house demands more, and so you rise again. The myth is that these tasks are menial. The reality is that they are endless, each one requiring skill in silence, patience, and invisibility. Soft landing. The cellar air hangs heavy, but your eyelids grow light. The stone floor holds its chill, but your thoughts drift warmer. Above, the house begins to stir. Below, you remain steady, carrying its quiet weight. The day is long, but for now you let the rhythm continue without you. Dressing the household. The fire downstairs has burned long enough for the first warmth to travel upward. The house is stirring now. Bells may ring at any moment, but even before they do, you know what must come next. The family must be dressed. Their appearance in the drawing room, in the breakfast hall, in the carriage, depends entirely on the quiet work you and others complete in rooms where curtains are still drawn. Before you begin, pause again. Adjust your pillow if it presses against your chin. Let your arms rest heavy at your sides. Breathe in slowly, as though drawing in the faint starch smell of linen. Breathe out gently, as though you are letting go of a long crease in fabric. The rhythm of dressing the household is slow, steady, and repetitive. It will carry you with the myth and the reality. The myth is that Edwardian elegance was effortless. Gowns fell into place as if woven from air. Suits sat upon shoulders as if shaped by magic. The reality is that below stairs, before daylight has fully arrived, a flurry of ironing, folding, buttoning, and fastening takes place. Historians note that the elegance displayed above was always the result of hidden labor. Household manuals describe the rules of dressing: gowns laid flat to prevent wrinkles, collars stiffened with starch, boots polished until they reflected the light of candles. Behind the grace of one lady at breakfast stood half a dozen tasks, all finished before she ever lifted a spoon. The linen room. You begin here. The linen smells faintly sharp, part soap, part starch, part the damp of stone-walled storage. White sheets hang, dresses are folded carefully, suits rest under cloth cover. Clara the clock watcher mutters the time as she counts collars, each stiff as cardboard. Step 1. Remove the gowns for the day. The lady's maid knows which one has been chosen. Colors that match the season, fabrics suited to the morning rather than evening. Step 2. Inspect seams, hems, buttons. Any loose thread could be a humiliation if spotted above stairs. Step 3. Lay the garments out flat across a table or bed, smoothing them slowly with your hand. You notice how cold the fabric feels at first, almost unfriendly. Before your palms warm it, the rustle of linen against linen is soft like a sigh in the room. The ironing. The most delicate battle comes with the iron. Step 1. Heat the iron with coal. The handle grows warm, so you wrap it in cloth. The iron itself glows faintly, though you cannot see the heat. Step 2. Test the temperature. Some servants use a scrap of cloth, others spit lightly, watching for the hiss. Step 3. Press slowly, never rush. The weight of the iron smooths wrinkles, but too much pressure leaves a shine, and too little leaves a fold. Step 4. Return the iron to the stand. Wait. Repeat. The myth is that ironing is simple. The reality is that it is endless. One collar may take as long as a sleeve. The heat burns at your hands. The coal smoke lingers in your nose. Maggie the mouse hater mutters that the mice enjoy the warmth more than the staff. Old Finch sighs from the doorway, observing with no intention of lifting a finger. The smell here is sharp, starch thickened with steam. It clings to your throat, dry and acrid.
though softened by the faint sweetness of soap left in the fabric. Dressing the gentleman. The master's valet moves with steps that look like a ritual. You assist where told. First the shirt, white, starched, crisp. It rustles like paper when unfolded. His arms slide into the sleeves, and you smooth them down, buttoning each carefully. Next the collar. It must be attached separately, stiff enough to stand on its own. The starch is unforgiving. If you press too hard, it cracks. Too soft, it bends. Then the waistcoat, buttoned one by one, each button polished until it shines. Finally the jacket, laid across shoulders like armor. The myth is that the master dresses himself. The reality is that every button, every fold, every polished shoe has passed through servant hand. You polish the boots last. The leather smells strong, mixed with polish that glistens under your cloth. Your fingers ache from pressure, but the shine comes slowly, and at last the boots reflect your own blurred face. Dressing the lady. The lady's maid commands here, but you assist again. The gown is lifted carefully from the bed, layers of fabric heavy enough that it seems to breathe. Step 1. The corset. Laces tugged, pulled, adjusted. The sound is a faint creak, leather against cord. You pull slowly, evenly, never too sharp, though the waist must grow narrow. Step 2. The chemise. Soft but plain, hidden beneath finery. Step 3. The gown itself. It slides over her shoulders with a whisper. Fabric cool, fabric heavy, fabric unyielding. Step 4. Adjust the hem, smoothing where it threatens to wrinkle. The myth is that elegance is graceful. The reality is that elegance is labor, pulling, fastening, smoothing. The gown rustles, but it is not yet ready. Jewelry must be chosen, gloves slipped on, hair pinned with care. Each pin a small prick to your fingers if you are not cautious. Small inconveniences. Each step brings small troubles. A lace snaps, and you must tie it carefully, so it will not show. A button refuses its hole, and you ease it gently rather than forcing. The iron cools too quickly, leaving faint wrinkles near the cup. The dilemmas repeat. Do you rush, risking imperfection, or linger, risking lateness? Neither option pleases entirely, but you must choose. The house demands progress. Rules of dressing. There are rules here as well, not written, but enforced through glances and signs. The master is never kept waiting. The mistress is never told that a gown does not suit her. Gloves must be spotless before they touch her hands. Buttons are fastened from top to bottom, never bottom to top. Jewelry is held steady until she knocks. Hairpins are never discussed aloud, though they prick daily. These rules give shape to the ritual. Without them, the process would unravel. Quirks below the ritual. Clara mutters again that time is slipping. Maggie claims gowns attract mice, though no one believes her. Old Finch sighs about the days when collars were less ridiculous. These quirks repeat daily, like familiar notes in a quiet song. They provide small comfort, even as the tasks stretch long. The house above. By the time the family descends for breakfast, they look effortless. The gentleman's suit fits as though it grew with him. The lady's gown flows as though woven from air. They will nod politely to guests, perhaps remarking how restful the morning was. None will imagine the heat of the iron, the crack of laces, the smell of polish, the sighs of Finch, the mutters of Clara, the complaints of Maggie. Historians studying photographs of the Edwardian elite sometimes note how perfectly they appear. The myth of effortless grace survives in those images, but records from household staff when they appear tell another truth, that elegance above was purchased with sweat below. Soft landing. The gowns rustle softly. The air smells faintly of starch. The fire glows low in its grey. The house drifts forward in its long rhythm, and you with it quietly, invisibly, steadily. Upstairs, downstairs. The house is awake now. The fires glow. The bells are ready to ring, and the family begins their day. Yet what you notice most is not the people themselves, but the divide between where they live and where you serve. Above, the carpets soften every step. Below, the stone floors amplify every sound. Above, sunlight enters through tall windows and catches polished glass. Below, the lamps sputter, and the air remains heavy with coal smoke. You live in both worlds, but belong to neither. You walk the stairs that link them, carrying trays, carrying silence, carrying the illusion that these two worlds do not meet, except in service. Before we continue, pause again. If your blanket has slipped, pull it higher. If your breathing is uneven, let it fall into rhythm, like footsteps up and down stairs. Slow, steady, predictable. This chapter will follow that rhythm. The staircase. The myth is that stairs are neutral, simply wood and carpet. The reality is that stairs are thresholds, carefully managed. When you walk down them, trays balanced, your steps echo. When you walk up, they must not. The family should not hear the weight of your footfall. Some households train servants to step on the edges, where wood creaks less. Others required shoes softened with cloth. Historians note that in manuals of household management, entire sections were devoted to stairs, who could use them, at what times, in what manner. Family and guests used the grand staircase, servants, the back stair. But trays of food, trays of tea, trays of letters often forced you to pass briefly into the grander space. Here, posture matters, balance matters, silence matters most. The tray. Carrying a tray looks simple. The myth is that it is light, graceful, steady. The reality is that it aches in your wrist and shoulder. Step 1. Load the tray carefully. Teapot, cups, sugar, milk jug. Each rattles faintly as you shift it. Step 2. Balance the weight evenly, left to right, front to back. A tilt of 1 inch may topple it. Step 3. Lift slowly, not from your back, but from your arm, steady as though carved from wood. Step 4. Walk, not too quickly, not too slowly. The tray must appear effortless, though your arm grows heavy. The sound of porcelain is sharp. A cup trembles against its saucer with every step. The smell of hot tea rises faintly, mixing with polish and starch in the hallway air. The dilemma comes when the tray shakes. Do you pause to steady it, risking delay, or keep walking, risking a clatter? Both paths feel dangerous, though neither would be called disaster. The drawing room. Upstairs, the family waits. The drawing room smells of flowers, freshly cut, arranged daily by unseen hands. The carpet softens sound, so that even your careful steps vanish almost entirely. The mistress nods as you enter. She does not see your arm trembling, only the smooth way you place the tray. You pour carefully, 1 cup, then another. The stream of tea thin and steady. Sugar tongs click softly. Spoons stir with small circles. The myth is that hospitality above stairs is natural. The reality is that each gesture depends on dozens of quiet tasks below. The flowers were cut at dawn. The tea leaves measured precisely. The tray balanced up creaking stairs. You bow slightly, step back and wait near the wall, invisible until summoned again.
Voices above and below. From where you stand, you hear both worlds. Above, the family speaks of guests, of outings, of carriages. Their voices are smooth, deliberate, never raised. Below, faint through the floor, you hear clatterpots scraped, coal tossed, Maggie muttering about mice. The two sounds overlap, but never truly meet. That is the meaning of upstairs and downstairs, separate, but connected by your hands and steps. Historians note that this divide defined Edwardian life as much as fashion or politics. Diaries of servants speak often of this silence between worlds, a silence heavier than stone walls, a silence heavier than stone walls. Small troubles. A cup chips, a crumb falls to the carpet. A guest asks for cream instead of milk, though the tray holds only milk. Small troubles, but enough to quicken your thoughts. Do you confess the missing cream, risking a raised eyebrow? Or do you hurry back downstairs, risking a delay? The house is filled not with grand dramas, but with these small repeating inconveniences. Clara whispers later that you should always bring both. Maggie mutters that mice would never argue about cream. Old Finch sighs that in his day, no guest dared complain. The rules of upstairs and downstairs. Like every part of the house, this divide comes with rules. Never speak unless spoken to. Stand, do not sit, when above stairs. Enter and exit quietly, without comment. Never allow trays to clatter. Do not meet the master's gaze too long. Do not linger after placing items. Return downstairs quickly, where you belong. These rules shape every step you take. They make you invisible, even as you carry visible things. The corridor back. When you return downstairs, the sound changes instantly. The carpeted hush above becomes stone echo below. The air shifts from flowers to coal smoke, from tea to green. Maggie is still muttering, this time about a mouse hole she claims to have found. Clara checks the clock, shaking her head. Old Finch sighs, arranging papers as though they matter, though none of them will ever be read. The contrast is stark, but you grow used to it. The house is two halves, and you walk between them like a shadow. The myth of ease. Guests imagine that houses run smoothly, that meals appear, fires warm, tea pours itself. The myth comforts them. The reality is your aching arms, your silent footsteps, your quick decisions on stairs. Historians write that the Edwardian elite often measured their status by the number of servants, not realizing that each added servant meant more invisible work, more rules, more silence below. Soft landing, the stairs creak faintly, the voices hush above, and the day floats on. You drift with it, not hurried, not loud, but steady as a shadow, moving through a quiet house. The language of bells. The house speaks in many ways. Voices carry above stairs, footsteps echo below. But the true language of an Edwardian household is not spoken aloud. It is the sound of bells. Before you step into this part of the day, let yourself settle. Adjust the pillow if it presses too sharply. Loosen your jaw. Let your breath fall steady, in and out, like the quiet hum of wires hidden in the walls. This chapter will drift slowly, like the faint ring of a bell down a corridor. The myth and the reality. The myth is that bells are orderly, polite, and clear. One rings, and a servant appears, as if conjured. The reality is more frantic. Bells ring together. Bells ring faintly, then fall silent. Some ring with urgency, others with hesitation, and it is up to you to know which matters most. Historians describe these systems in detail. Brass plates marked with names of rooms lined the wall of the servants' hall, each plate attached to a thin wire that ran through walls and ceilings, pulled by a lever in some upstairs room. When tugged, the bell below would jangle, its sound accompanied by a twitching of a small tag or arm. The system looked simple, but it was a house's nervous system, quivering with messages from every room. The bellboard, you stand before it now. A row of bells, polished brass, some larger, some smaller, each labeled morning room, drawing room, library, bedrooms, numbered by order of importance. Step 1. Watch. The bells may hang still for long minutes. You must still be ready. Step 2. Listen. The sound is sharp, each bell with its own pitch, like a small choir of demands. Step 3. Respond. Walk quickly, but not too quickly. Arrive composed as though you had been there all along. The myth is that the board speaks clearly. The reality is that 2 bells may jangle at once, and you must choose. You return, fetch the writing set, deliver it silently. The master nods, then waves you away. The bell falls silent, but the memory of its ring lingers in your ear. Clara the clock watcher marks the time on a scrap of paper, as though bells must be charted like stars. Maggie mutters that bells ring more when mice are about, though no one believes her. Old Finch sighs, remembering when houses had fewer rooms and fewer bells. You hesitate at the same time. Another bell jingles faintly from a bedroom above. 2 at once. Here lies the dilemma. Which do you answer first? The mistress in the morning room, or the guest above? Do you follow rank, or distance, or urgency? You choose the morning room. The mistress requests tea. You nod, step back, hurry to fetch it. By the time you return, the bedroom bell has fallen silent. Perhaps another servant went. Perhaps the guest gave up. You do not know. The house never explains. The sound itself, each bell carries its own tone. The drawing room bell is deep, resonant, echoing like a sigh. The breakfast room bell is higher, quicker, rattling like a cough. The bedroom bells are lighter, faint, like a bird tapping glass. You begin to recognize them by ear, even without seeing the board. The house becomes a symphony of expectation, its notes ringing through your skull long after they stop. Rules of the bells. Every house trained its staff in bell etiquette. Bells must be answered at once, never ignored. The highest-ranking family members take priority. If 2 ring together, choose the nearest, unless the mistress is involved. Do not run. Running is noise. Do not appear flustered. Calm is part of the service. Never arrive empty-handed if you suspect the request. Bring water, bring cloth, bring readiness. Bells are not conversation, they are command. These rules repeat daily, until they settle in your bones. Quirks in the system. The wires are not perfect. Sometimes a bell twitches faintly, though no one has pulled it. Drafts in the walls, loose connections, or perhaps mischief. Maggie swears it is mice tugging the wires. Clara notes the exact times of phantom rings. Old Finch sighs, insisting the house itself is restless. Historians have found records of servants describing these false alarms. Some believed they were warnings, others thought them merely broken mechanics. Either way, they trained servants never to trust silence entirely. The strain, you feel it in your body, The bells may not ring for minutes, even hours. Then suddenly, 3 at once. Your stomach clenches at each jingle. Your hands tighten. Carrying trays becomes harder. Polishing slows. Your ears lean always toward that sound. It is not loud, but it rules the rhythm of your day. The myth is that bells were convenient. The reality is that bells were restless, always waiting to be rung. The stories. Old Finch tells one in his slow, sighing voice. Long ago, he claims, a bell rang one night from the nursery, though no child slept there anymore. Servants answered, carrying lamps, but the room was empty. The bell kept ringing. Faulty wire, he mutters, but then sighs as though meaning more. Clara records the tale in her notes, as though time itself might explain it. Maggie claims she has heard scratching near the wires, proof of her mice. None agree, but all remember. These stories repeat in many houses, half superstition, half explanation. Bells that rang on their own, bells that refused to ring when pulled, bells that spoke not only of commands, but of the house's own moods. The endless cycle, tea to the drawing room, ink to the library, hot water to the bedrooms, towels to the dressing room. Each request begins with a ring, ends with silence, then waits to ring again. You walk the stairs, balance the trays, bow at doors, retreat quietly. Hours pass in this rhythm. The bells call, you answer. They fall still, you wait. They ring again, and the day continues. Historians still debate whether servants ever grew used to this life, or whether they simply endured. Letters suggest both. Some wrote of routine as comfort, others of bells as chains. Soft landing. The wires hum faintly, like a lullaby of duty. The bells rest for now, though they may ring again soon. The house waits, and so do you, steady, silent, listening for the next small jingle in the quiet air. Servants' rituals and superstitions. Every household has its work, fires to light, meals to serve, floors to scrub. Yet beneath the endless rhythm of tasks lies another rhythm, the small rituals servants keep, and the superstitions they whisper when the masters are not listening. These are not written in manuals or ordered by butlers. They grow in corners, in kitchens, in the pauses between bells. They are part of life below stairs, half tradition, half comfort, carried forward more by habit than by belief. Before you listen further, ease yourself. Let your pillow hold your head. Rest your arms along your sides. Breathe once in, once out, slow as candlelight trembling in a draught. These stories will wander gently, and you may wander with them. The myth and the reality. The myth is that Edwardian households were guided only by strict schedules and rational rules. The reality is that superstition lingered, even as the 20th century approached. Servants, often from rural villages, carried old beliefs with them. Historians note that while electricity and telephones spread above stairs, below stairs many still avoided sweeping at night, whistling indoors or spilling salt without a counter-gesture. Letters and memoirs from the time mention charms tucked in aprons, prayers whispered before heavy work, and habits that blurred the line between routine and ritual. The ritual of sweeping, one of the simplest customs. Never sweep after dark. It was said to brush away luck, to scatter what little fortune a house might hold. Step 1. Sweep only in daylight. Step 2. If sweeping must be done at night, leave a corner untouched, so luck has a place to stay. Step 3. Always sweep toward the hearth, not away from it. Clara the clock watcher insists this keeps the house orderly. Maggie the mouse hater mutters that it gives mice a place to hide. Old Finch sighs, declaring it nonsense, though he never breaks the rule himself. The broom whispers against the stone floor. The sound is soft, steady, like a You follow the ritual, not because you must, but because it is easier than refusing. Bread and hum. Another superstition lingers in the kitchen. Bread, it is said, rises better if you hum. Maggie swears by. She hums tunelessly while kneading, pressing dough with heavy palms, flour clinging to her arms. She claims that silence makes bread flat, but a hum gives it spirit. Step 1. Measure the flour, rough and dusty. Step 2. Mix with water, yeast and a pinch of salt. Step 3. Knead, fold, press, hum. The air fills with a low sound, part song, part breath. The dough creaks faintly, stretching under her hands. Clara notes the time, unimpressed. Old Finch sighs, muttering that bread will rise regardless. Yet the loaves do rise, golden and firm, and Maggie nods, certain that humming helped. Historians have found records of similar customs, songs for churning butter, prayers for stirring porridge, charms against milk souring. The work was physical, but the rituals added patience, rhythm and perhaps hope.
Candles and shadows. Another belief: never let a candle gutter 3 times in a row. The first flicker is a draft, the second a trick of wax, but the third means something more. In the servants' hall, when candles dim, everyone pauses. Clara counts the flickers, whispering the numbers. Maggie gasps if the third arrives, crossing herself quickly. Old Finch sighs, then replaces the candle with another, as though ending the matter. The shadows sway on the walls, long and thin. You watch them shift, stretching like figures that move too slowly. Nothing happens, of course. The house does not change, yet everyone sits quieter for a while, until the routine resumes. Rules of superstition, unspoken, yet widely known. The rules of belief below stairs might be listed like this: never place shoes on a table, bad luck lingers in the leather. Never whistle in the kitchen, it calls up storms or spoils the soup. Always toss a pinch of salt over your shoulder if spilled. Never count knives aloud, it tempts quarrels. If a mirror cracks, cover it quickly, and turn it to the wall. Never leave a loaf of bread upside down, it insults the baker. Always greet the black cat at the back door, whether you believe or not. You may not follow each rule strictly, but you notice them. They drift through your work like faint perfumes, sometimes ignored, sometimes obeyed without thought. The cook's cross. In some houses, the cook scratched a small cross into the bottom of each pie, not for flavor, not for guests to see, but for habit. The mark sat hidden beneath layers of crust, baked into the meal. The myth is that this was mere decoration. The reality is that it was insurance against spoiled food, against discontent, against misfortune in the household. Maggie claims it keeps mice away. Clara notes that the time spent scratching the cross could be used better elsewhere. Old Finch sighs, but eats the pie regardless. Historians record this in journals of servants. It was never explained openly, but repeated quietly, pie after pie, as natural as buttering a crust. The ghost bell. Every house has a story. In this one, some whisper of the bell that rings when no hand pulls. One night, Clara claims, the library bell jingled faintly though the room was empty. Maggie swore she heard scratching near the wires, blaming her mice. Old Finch sighed, insisting it was loose metal, though his sigh carried more weight than his word. The superstition grew. When a ghost bell rings, it means change is coming. Not a disaster, not death, only change. The staff listened more closely afterward, waiting for proof. None came, yet the story remains, retold in low voices when the lamps are dim. The comfort of ritual. Do these superstitions matter? Perhaps not. Bread rises whether hummed over or not. Mice scamper regardless of brooms. Candles gutter from drafts, not omens. And yet the rituals comfort. They shape the hours, add predictability where chaos might grow. They make endless work feel less empty. Historians suggest that rituals below stairs served as a kind of shared culture, bonding servants through small gestures no master ever noted. A pinch of salt, a hum of bread, a pause at a flickering candle, all became reminders that work was not only duty but also tradition. Soft landing. The candles flicker softly, and shadows sway like slow dreams. The bread hum lingers faintly in the air. The broom whispers across stone, and you drift with these sounds, quiet, repetitive, steady as superstition itself. Meals and banquets. Meals mark the rhythm of an Edwardian household. They are the visible part of service, the moments when family and guests see the results of hours of invisible labor. To the diners, food arrives in sequence, silver glimmers and courses follow as if guided by music. To you below stairs, it is another kind of symphony, pots clanging, knives chopping, voices calling, trays lifted, plates returned. Before we begin, adjust yourself, smooth your blanket, rest your head heavier on the pillow. Breathe once, twice, letting the rhythm of this chapter settle over you like the steady pace of footsteps in a kitchen. The myth and the reality. The myth is that Edwardian dining was effortless, a smooth display of elegance. The reality is that meals were built on hours of preparation. The larger the banquet, the longer the invisible work. Historians describe Edwardian meals as sprawling affairs. Breakfast could carry half a dozen dishes. Luncheon demanded polish even in simplicity. Dinners might stretch through many courses: soups, fish, roasts, puddings, sweets, fruits, wines, coffee. Manuals of household management recommended a dozen servants for a meal that seemed serene to the guests, though chaos brewed below. The kitchen before a meal. The air here is heavy. Coal smoke, roasting meat, onions frying, yeast rising, polish on trays, soap on hands. Step 1. Gather ingredients, flour in sacks, meat from the pantry, vegetables from the cold cellar, their earthy smell clinging. Step 2. Prepare, peel, chop, season. The sound is constant, knives against wood, spoons stirring, kettles humming. Step 3. Cook, pots bubble, pans sizzle, ovens roar faintly behind iron doors. Step 4. Plate, arrange each portion not only for taste, but for symmetry, for appearance, for illusion. Maggie hums tunelessly as she kneads bread. Clara mutters the time at intervals, as though the soup might obey her clock. Old Finch sighs at the scullery, polishing glasses that clink faintly against one another. Rules of the table. Every table followed codes, some spoken, some only implied. Knives and forks polished to mirror brightness, plates warmed before food touched them. Glasses arranged by size, tallest to smallest, napkins folded, never crumpled. Courses served from the left, removed from the right, wine poured silently, bottle never touching the glass. Servants invisible, but always present. These rules create the illusion of ease. Guests may not notice them, but they would notice their absence. A small trouble, a cracked plate appears. The glaze is split, a thin line down its surface. It will not matter to the taste, but if seen, it will be remembered. The dilemma, hide it in the stack, hoping no one notices, or confess to the cook, risking her sharp glance. You set it aside, covered by a cloth. The meal must not falter. The banquet, when a full dinner is served, the work multiplies. The dining room above fills with light, candles glowing, mirrors reflecting. The table stretches long, covered in linen white as froth. Flowers stand in vases, their scent faintly sweet, but secondary to the feast. Below you line up with trays, soup first, steaming gently, then fish, glistening with sauce, then roasts, heavy and fragrant, then sweets, puddings soft and trembling. Step 1. Carry steadily, tray balanced, footsteps silent. Step 2. Serve from the left, bowing slightly. Step 3. Retreat, wait, return. The air is thick with scents, roasted game, butter, wine, sugar melting into caramel. The sound above is soft, clinking cutlery, murmured voice. The sound below is harsher, pots scraped, orders whispered, plates stacked, bells ringing. Quirks of the meal. Clara marks the time of each course, whispering to herself. Maggie mutters that mice would feast better than guests, given the scraps that fall. Old Finch sighs when a glass shows even the faintest smudge, rubbing it again until it gleams. Each has their ritual, each repeats it nightly. Together they form a rhythm, as steady as the ticking clock. Myth versus reality again. The myth is that guests judged meals by flavor alone. The reality is that they judged by detail. Whether courses followed on time, whether forks matched, whether candles burned evenly. Diaries of the period reveal complaints about dishes arriving late, soups too cool, sauces too thick. The smallest flaw became a topic for gossip. Servants bore the weight of this. A late tray meant whispers, a spilled drop meant frowns, yet when the meal went smoothly, no one mentioned the labor at all. The end of the feast. When the last course is finished, guests rise, voices low, footsteps muffled by carpet. Above stairs, the evening continues, parlor games, music, conversation. Below stairs, the work does not end. Step 1. Clear dishes, stack carefully, scrape plates into bins. Step 2. Wash, scrub, dry. The water grows clouded, hot at first, then lukewarm, then cold. Step 3. Polish again. Cutlery, glasses, trays, until they gleam as though never touched. Maggie complains of sore hands. Clara notes the late hour. Old Finch sighs, declaring that banquets were simpler once, though no one believes him. The kitchen grows quieter as fires dim. Only the faint smell of grease and soap lingers. Soft landing. The candles glow faintly, the plates gleam, and the night deepens slowly. The house exhales after its feast, and you too feel your breath grow long, steady and slow. Cleaning the invisible. The meal is over, the guests are satisfied, and the family has retreated upstairs. You might think the work is done, yet this is only another beginning. For in a house like this, grandeur must always appear effortless, and effortlessness means endless cleaning. The myth is that houses of wealth remained pristine on their own, as though dust respected rank. The reality is that every surface, every fitting, Every corner demanded daily attention. Invisible hands, your hands kept the illusion alive. Before you step into this rhythm, settle yourself again. Rest your head against the pillow, loosen your shoulders, let your breath fall into the same quiet pattern as a cloth moving across wood. This chapter will move with that same softness, steady and repetitive, like the sound of brushes against stone. Dust and brass. Dust never sleeps. It settles on mantles, clings to books, hides in folds of curtains. Each morning it must be chased away again. Step 1. Take the feather duster. Its smell is faintly musty, the feathers soft but shedding. Step 2. Sweep gently, not too hard. Dust should vanish, not scatter. Step 3. Follow with a cloth, dampened faintly, to catch what lingers. The brass fittings require more patience. Knobs, handles, candlesticks. The polish stings your nose, acrid and sharp. You rub in circles, then in lines, then in circles again, until the metal glows enough to catch candlelight. Clara the clock watcher mutters that you polish too long. Maggie the mouse hater insists mice nest in dust, so it must be fought. Old Finch sighs, declaring that brass was shinier in his youth. Floors and carpets. Stone floors downstairs must be scrubbed. The water is cold, the soap sharp. Your hands grow red, the cloth rough against your palms. The smell is sharp and clean, though tinged with damp. Upstairs, carpets must be beaten. Step 1. Roll them carefully, haul them to the yard. Step 2. Lift the beater, a woven cane that whistles faintly through air. Step 3. Strike again and again, dust rising in clouds. Historians note that this was a weekly ritual in most households. Letters describe streets lined with carpets, hung on rails, servants swinging beaters, as clouds of dust drifted like smoke. The myth of plush, clean carpets relied on this hidden violence of effort. You cough softly as dust rises. Maggie covers her face, muttering that mice hide in rugs. Clara notes the hour, urging speed. Old Finch sighs, remarking that dust always returns.
The stubborn soot. Fires provide warmth, but leave soot behind. It clings to grates, stains walls, smudges fingers. Step 1. Shovel ash into the bucket. The sound is faint, like dry sand sliding. Step 2. Wipe with a damp cloth, though the soot resists. Step 3. Polish the grate until it glimmers, though your hands grow black again. The dilemma is simple. Do you scrub thoroughly, losing time for other tasks? Or scrub lightly, knowing the soot will never truly vanish? Neither choice satisfies, yet one must be made. The smell of soot is heavy, clinging to your clothes, refusing to leave. Even after you wash, a faint shadow lingers under your nails. The war with dust. Clara calls it exactly that. The war with dust. She insists it cannot be won. Every day dust returns. Maggie nods grimly, declaring dust and mice to be allies. Old Finch sighs, saying dust is patient and servants are not. And yet the battle continues. Feather dusters, damp cloths, brushes, polish, hour after hour, corner after corner. Historians remind us that even the grandest houses smelled faintly of soot, damp, and polish. The illusion of freshness was stronger than the reality. Guests praised gleaming rooms, never imagining the endless hours of invisible labor beneath the shine. Rules of cleaning. As with all work, rules guided the process. Always dust before sweeping, never after. Always polish brass before silver, never in reverse. Carpets beaten outdoors, never indoors. Windows cleaned on cloudy days. Sunlight shows streaks too easily. Soap sparingly used on wood, polish preferred. Fireplaces cleared before dawn, not after. Cleaning must be finished before guests appear, as though it never happened at all. These rules shaped the rhythm of your day, dictating not only what to clean, but when and how. A forgotten corner. In every house, one corner resists. Dust lingers, soot clings, cobwebs stretch. You notice it daily, though no master ever would. The dilemma: spend time to chase it, though no one will see, or ignore it, though you yourself will know. You pause, cloth in hand, before making your choice. Maggie mutters that mice hide there. Clara urges you to hurry, for the clock ticks on. Old Finch sighs, saying corners always win. The myth of effortlessness. The myth is that rooms stay bright with little help. The reality is that you polish until your arms ache, scrub until your fingers wrinkle, sweep until your back bends, and still, Tomorrow dust will return, soot will spread, carpets will need beating again. Historians write that servants spent more hours cleaning than in any other time. It was endless, invisible, thankless. The house looked untouched, and that was the proof of success. Soft landing, the broom whispers, the cloth glides, the brass glows faintly in the dim light, and the hours pass quietly, as though nothing has been done, as though the house keeps its. You drift with it, soft, steady, invisible, as dust, settling again. Days of rest and rules of leisure. Even the busiest house allows pauses. They are not frequent, and never entirely free, but they exist, hours marked as time off, afternoons when servants may leave the house, Sundays when work is quieter, evenings when chores ease, before starting again at dawn. These are the days of rest, though they are shaped as much by rules as by freedom. The myth is that leisure meant liberty. The reality is that even in rest, boundaries remained. Before we begin, take a moment for your own pause. Let your body sink deeper into the pillow. Loosen your arms and hands. Breathe slowly, as though you are exhaling the week's labor, one long breath at a time. This chapter will unfold like a slow Sunday afternoon, gentle and steady. The myth and the reality. The myth is that servants' leisure resembled the family's leisure. Gentle strolls, long reading hours, idle conversation. The reality is that rest was narrow, structured, sometimes shortened by bells that still rang. Historians note that even on Sundays, staff worked half the day, preparing meals before church, cleaning after meals, laying fires again at dusk. Outings to town were brief, restricted by curfews or distance. Yet within those narrow frames, leisure held meaning, small freedoms in a life of rules. The Sunday morning. Sunday begins earlier than most. The house expects quiet efficiency. Step 1, prepare the fires, as always. Step 2, serve a simpler breakfast, porridge, bread, tea. Step 3, lay out clothes for church, starch stiff in collars and gowns. Afterwards, if permitted, servants themselves attend service, not in the family pew but in the back rows, quiet and unnoticed. The chapel smells faintly of damp stone, candle wax, and worn wood. The air is cool, though voices rise in hymn. Clara counts the verses under her breath, as though time must be measured everywhere. Maggie hums loudly, her voice breaking at odd notes. Old Finch sighs during the sermon, though whether from piety or fatigue is unclear. Rules of leisure. Even leisure had codes. Outings permitted, only with permission. Uniforms required. Servants should still appear respectable in town. Curfew fixed, usually by 10 o'clock. No visits from outsiders without the butler's approval. Reading material inspected. Improper novels frowned upon. Pubs discouraged, though not entirely forbidden. Return to duty at the first bell, regardless of day. Freedom, framed by walls of expectation, yet within them, small joys grew. An afternoon outing. On a free afternoon you step into the town. The cobbles feel different beneath your boots, less polished, more alive. The smell changes too. Coal smoke mixes with bread baking in shop ovens, with horse dung from the street, with faint perfume spilling from doorway. Step 1, decide where to go. The market, the park, the post office. Step 2, choose how to spend coins, carefully counted from wages. Step 3, return in time, lest the butler frown and Clara mutter of lateness. Maggie spends her pennies on sugared buns, sticky in her hand. Clara buys a cheap ribbon, though she notes how little time she has left to enjoy it. Old Finch sighs, buying only a newspaper, muttering through its pages about change in the world. The dilemma is always present: spend on necessity, or spend on pleasure, bread or sweets, soap or trinket. Neither choice is wrong, but both carry weight. Leisure indoors. Not every rest day leads outside. Sometimes leisure means staying below stairs, chairs drawn close, tasks set aside, games appear, cards with edges worn, dominoes clicking softly, riddles whispered in corners. A kettle steams on the range, filling cups with weak tea. Laughter surfaces here, quieter than above, but present. Maggie tells stories of mice outsmarting traps. Clara corrects her, insisting the time of each sighting. Old Finch sighs through his tales, half memory, half exaggeration. The myth is that leisure was idleness. The reality is that leisure was brief, structured, and often filled with the same routines, only softened by laughter. The evening return. By evening, rest ends. Boots cleaned again, aprons smoothed, bells may ring once more. Step 1, wash hands, soap sharp and cold. Step 2, change into uniform, buttons checked, Step 3. Prepare fires for supper. Though smaller than dinner feasts, the house expects readiness. Even after rest, you return to the rhythm, as though leisure never happened. Historians' notes, records suggest that leisure was prized not because it was abundant, but because it was rare. Letters mention outings remembered for years, small purchases cherished, Sunday walks described as luxury. One servant wrote of a ribbon, worn only on days off, another of sweets, saved for weeks. The myth of Edwardian leisure lies in its invisibility. The family above enjoyed leisure daily. The servants below treasured it in moments, measured carefully against the clock. Soft landing. The evening air is cool, footsteps slow as curfew nears. The town hums faintly, then fades as the servants return. Inside, fires glow again, bells wait, and tomorrow's duties gather quietly. You rest for now, steady, calm, brief as leisure itself. Whispers of change. The house feels timeless. Its walls are thick, its routines ancient, its rules steady. Yet beneath the silence, change stirs. The Edwardian household, built on rituals of service, is already shifting. You do not see it in a single day, but in whispers, new machines humming, new attitudes spreading, new choices creeping into corridors. Before we explore these shifts, settle yourself, adjust your blanket, let your head rest heavier on the pillow. Inhale slowly, exhale gently, as though you are breathing with the slow sighs of old Finch. Change in this story will move softly, not suddenly, like the turning of a season. The reality is that even within their strict rules, transformation grew. Historians remind us that by the 1910s, servant numbers were already declining. Factories, shops and offices offered new work. Women found different roles beyond kitchens and laundry. Machines promised ease, electric lights, gas stoves, vacuum cleaners. Tradition remained, but cracks widened. The first electric lamp. The first sign is small, a lamp above stairs wired for electricity. Step 1, a switch replaces the match. Step 2, light appears instantly, sharp and steady without smoke. Step 3, the room brightens differently, clearer, colder, less forgiving. Below stairs, whispers begin. Clara the clock watcher notes the exact time it first flickers. Maggie mutters that mice fear the hum of wires. Old Finch sighs, claiming candles are more honest. The dilemma appears. Should servants embrace this new lamp, or cling to candles and oil? The masters call it progress. You below call it one more thing to learn. The vacuum cleaner. Another arrival. A vacuum, large and noisy, wheeled in as though it were furniture. Step 1. Plug the heavy cord into a socket. Step 2. Guide the machine slowly, its roar louder than footsteps. Step 3. Empty its bag, filled with dust you once chased with broom. The myth is that machines end labor. The reality is that machines change it. The vacuum is heavy, awkward, louder than silence should allow. It saves time on carpets, but takes time in maintenance. Maggie refuses to trust it, muttering about frightened mice. Clara records how long it runs, down to the minute. Old Finch sighs, shaking his head, muttering that dust always wins. Talk of wages. Change stirs not only in machines, but in minds. Some servants speak quietly of higher wages in town. Shops need clerks, factories need hands, offices need typists. Hours are shorter, pay more certain. The dilemma grows. Remain in service, bound by rules, but fed and housed, or leave, chasing new independence. Historians record this shift clearly. By 1911, the census shows fewer young people entering service than a generation before. Work once considered honorable began to seem restrictive. The myth of a place in service, as security weakened. The young and the old. Clara, young still, wonders aloud if timekeeping might suit her in a shop, instead of a scullery. Maggie declares she will never leave. Certain mice would follow her. Old Finch sighs, shaking his head, insisting the world outside is restless and rude. These whispers fill the servants' hall at night. They are not declarations, only musings, but they mark a change. Once, a servant's future was certain. Now, it is not. Rules tested, even the rules above stairs, bend slightly. Some masters prefer simpler meal. Some mistresses shorten the list of courses. Guests speak more openly of business, less of tradition. Step 1, fewer courses in dinner. Step 2, less silver on the table. Step 3, fewer servants hired to fill places along the walls. The myth of endless formality fades, slowly, unevenly, yet the illusion of grandeur continues, even as effort shrinks.
The newspapers. Old Finch unfolds his paper with sighs that last longer than the words. Headlines speak of strikes in factories, debates in parliament, suffragettes marching in the streets. The servants listen quietly. Clara notes the dates carefully. Maggie mutters that marches disturb mice. Old Finch sighs again, insisting that nothing truly changes, though the very pages in his hands prove otherwise. Historians point out that Edwardian service existed in the shadow of coming war. The First World War would break traditions faster than any machine, but even before whispers of change filled corridors, long before shouts reached the streets. The myth of permanence. The myth is that Edwardian houses stood unchanged, eternal. The reality is that change always entered through lamps, through machines, through ideas carried in letters and newspapers. The servants' hall heard these whispers, though softly, cautiously. Change meant opportunity, but also uncertain. Some longed for it, others feared it, all felt its presence. Soft landing, the lamps buzz faintly, the night folds in. Above stairs, guests sip tea under new light. Below you sit in dim glow, listening to whispers of a world shift. Change drifts softly, like dust settling again, inevitable but quiet. Nightfall in the house. The day stretches long in an Edwardian household. From the first fire at dawn to the last dish at supper, the rhythm has not stopped. Now night approaches, and with it comes the final ritual, the slow closing of the house. Before we move through these quiet hours, prepare yourself for rest as well. Let your pillow hold you more fully. Loosen your arms at your side. Inhale once, deeply, then let the breath go, long and gentle, like the sigh of a lamp being extinguished. This chapter will take you through nightfall, steady and slow, until both you and the house are ready to sleep. The myth and the reality. The myth is that when the family retires, the house sleeps too. The reality is that servants remain awake longer, tying each loose thread of the day, securing every latch, dimming every flame. The house itself does not sleep, it exhales. Historians remind us that manuals of service included entire sections on closing the house, locking doors, banking fires, checking windows, laying coals for the morning. It was routine yet vital. Comfort above stairs depended on vigilance below. Extinguishing the lamps. Step 1. Dim the lamps. Some are electric now, humming faintly. Others remain oil or gas, their light flickering. Each must be turned off, one by one, until rooms fall into shadow. The air changes as lamps die. Warmth fades, corners deepen, silence grows. You carry a candle, its flame trembling as you move from hall to hall. Clara the clock watcher notes the time of each extinguishing, whispering it like a litany. Maggie mutters that mice prefer dark corners. Old Finch sighs, declaring that night is heavier now than ever before. Banking the fires. Fires cannot burn unattended. Step 1. Spread the coals thin, so they smolder rather than blaze. Step 2. Cover with ash, muffling flame to ember. Step 3. Set aside fresh coal for the morning, ready to spark again. The smell is deep. Smoke, soot, faint wood, faint ash. Your hands blacken once more, though the day is nearly done. The faint crackle softens, then settles. The myth is that fireplaces burn endlessly. The reality is that each must be coaxed, tamed, and put to rest. Locking the doors. The butler always oversees this ritual. Keys jangle softly, heavy on a ring. Step 1. Check the front, the grand entrance, bolted firm. Step 2. Check the side where deliveries arrive, latch drawn tight. Step 3. Check the servant's entrance, iron cold under your hand. The sound is distinct, metal sliding into metal, a click, a turn, a sigh. Security is not only for the family's comfort, but for your own. Maggie mutters of mice slipping through gaps regardless. Clara records the time of each lock. Old Finch sighs, heavier than the bolts themselves. The night watch. Not all rest at once. Someone must remain awake, patrolling faintly, listening for bells, checking coals, pacing corridors. The rules of night watch are simple. Walk quietly, so others may rest. Carry a lamp, shaded, never too bright. Listen for unusual sounds, wind creaks, footsteps. Answer bells if they ring, no matter the hour. Never sit too long or sleep may steal you. You walk softly, lamp in hand. The house groans faintly, wood shifting, glass tapping in the breeze, pipes sighing. You know these sounds. They are not threat, only the house itself settling. The servants' hall. Before bed, the staff gathers once more. Supper is plain, bread, cheese, weak tea, voices soften, laughter fades. The day's stories are told. Clara remarks again on the hours. Maggie insists she nearly trapped a mouse. Old Finch sighs, muttering that tomorrow will be no different. Their quirks close the day, as they began it, small comforts in repetition. The myth is that servants fell into bed without thought. The reality is that even they sought endings, rituals, small closures before sleep, rooms in shadow. One by one, you return to your quarter. The stone floor is cold, the air is damp, the smell of coal lingers faintly, even here, yet the mattress, rough as it is, feels heavy with promise. Step 1. Remove the shoes, stiff with polish. Step 2. Fold the uniform, even if wrinkled, ready for morning. Step 3. Lie down, blanket, scratchy but warm enough. The ceiling is low, the lamp faint. You hear others, settling, coughing softly, whispering briefly. Soon silence returns. Historians notes, some scholars believe the Edwardian household was most alive at night, in these moments of closing. Records show notes about routines repeated with military precision. Letters mention the comfort of hearing bolts drawn, lamps dimmed, fires back. The family above trusted in servants below to weave safety out of repetition. The myth of unbroken sleep belonged only to those upstairs. Below, servants rested, knowing the cycle would begin again, before dawn. The final cadence. The house exhales, fires dim, lamps cool, locks hold. The bells are silent for now. You lie in your narrow bed, eyes heavy, body still, mind quiet. The rhythm of the day has ended, and yet tomorrow waits, patient as dust. The fire dies low, the house grows dark, and you drift too into rest.